Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Southampton up next for West Ham United as we head into this one on form. But one team who are not on form is the Saints themselves. I'm joined by Glen from Total Saints Podcast to get their perspective on all things Southampton against West Ham. But Glen, first of all, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's always nice when it's not a match day at the moment, and we can try and pretend that everything's going okay. But yeah, it'd be nice for the club to have had a nice win last week and everything to be nice and calm this week. But as it seems to be the way with Saints at the moment, it's never easy, and there's always something that's not going particularly well.
What's going on at your club then? Come on, give us the Southampton fan perspective. What's happening?
What's happening? In terms of the first team, we've been on an absolutely rotten run ever since really we played West Ham in the Cup last year. And that was a strange one. That was the time when we thought nothing could go wrong, because we basically picked a reserve side and played really, really well and won that cup game. Following week, with all the first team players back, we got absolutely smashed 4-0 at Villa. And people thought, okay, that's a one-off. Players are tired and all that stuff. We then had 2 consecutive home games against Watford and Newcastle, and everyone thought, oh well, we'll get back on track with those 2. Lost both of those, and I think a week or so later, we then lost 6-0 at home to Chelsea, and then the wheels were well and truly off. And what happened at that point? West Ham were unfortunate in a way, because you played us 3 times last year when we were still playing relatively well. And we still had this identity as a sort of high pressing side that made it very uncomfortable for other teams. And once we got beaten that game 6-0 by Chelsea, it's almost like Ralph's bottle went, and all of a sudden we started playing 5 at the back, defending really deep, not really having much idea how to attack. And so we ended the season with something like 9 defeats out of 10. Fast forward to this season, a lot of players in and out in the summer. We had a couple of promising results. We beat Chelsea at home, beat Leicester away. And then we've had games against Villa, Wolves, Everton. Again, games you're expecting to pick up points from. And we've been absolutely dire. It's not just been the fact that we've lost. There's no attack. There's nothing going on. So if people are wondering why the knives are out a little bit for Ralph, there's a stat which keeps getting added to at the moment, that in our last 21 games, we've won 3. And any manager would be under pressure with that record. So that's what's going on. And the board have, over the course of the last sort of year or so, we've changed a load of players, we've changed the coaching staff, and things haven't improved. There's not much left to change apart from the obvious. It was a case about a year ago where I thought, well, if he goes for whatever reason, and at the time we were thinking, if he moves to a bigger club, I kind of thought we'd be in a worse place. Whoever we get wouldn't be as good. But at the end of last season, at the start of this, I'm not thinking that anymore. It's not quite desperation at the moment, but I don't think it would have been a surprise if the trigger had been pulled last week or the week before. And
why has it gone wrong for him though? What's happened? Because we usually sing Val's praises on this channel when we do our previews.
Yeah.
We look at Southampton from an outsider's perspective, and we're relatively well impressed. And I'll be honest with you, your summer transfer business, we'll deal with that in a second, because that's a different topic altogether. I was very impressed by it, and I don't think you got enough plaudits actually as a football club. When I saw you were bringing in, I thought, here's a team with a strategy, and I liked what you were doing. But then almost expected that to then transfer onto the pitch a little bit, but you've just been crap. Why have you been so crap?
Why have we been so crap? We've having made a load of transfers, and as you say, good business, some decent players coming in. They're all defenders and defensive midfielders. We've gone into the season with basically 3 attackers. So last year, I can understand West Ham fans not wondering what the hell has gone on, because we played you 3 times last year when we were still playing well. And West Ham, up until last year, were a team that we always struggled with, because you were just too physical, too big, too strong. And we always got rolled over, especially when we came to your place. But last year, we drew at home in the league and won at your ground won in the FA Cup. So I can understand West Ham fans wondering what the hell's going on. You were just unfortunate to play us before the wheels came off. Last year we had Armando Broja on loan from Chelsea, and he did for you in both the cup game and the game at your place. He's gone, and we've tried to replace him with an 18-year-old French kid who doesn't look up to it. So the other striking options we got, Che Adams, who's a decent player, but he's 8 or 9 goals a season at most, and Adam Armstrong, who's championship level at best. So that's our strikers. You ain't going to win many games, and it's not just the goal output; it's the lack of movement up front. And there's not much movement off the ball. I mean, ridiculous. We've just played Manchester City. Of course, they're a completely different level to everyone else. But you see a player like De Bruyne, for example, he might touch the ball 6 or 7 times in one move. Pass, move, pass, move. Classic. You need both. Being a midfielder for us must be horrendous because there's no movement. So you're left with sideways and backwards, and that's the problem. We've forgotten how to attack. Because we had those heavy defeats last year, Ralph kind of wanted to address the defence, and the defence has improved. The players we've signed and the back four we got now is better, but it's been at the detriment of going forward. We just don't seem to have any idea in the last few games, at least, how to even threaten the opponent's goal, let alone score a few goals. So that's been the problem.
I'm looking forward to Sunday more and more now. The more you speak, the more I'm looking forward to Sunday. But right, last question on your team and your manager. Very quickly, do you want him sacked? I briefly interrupt this video with one important question. Are you one of those players that used to give up on Fantasy League because you missed a couple of weekends? I used to be like that, but that's why the Fantasy Football app by Spitch is perfect for players like you and I. Transfers don't matter. You don't have to spend all week keeping your eye on all the injury news around the Premier League. You pick a new 11 every single week. And this week over on Spitch, I've got involved in the paid league. It cost me £1.70 to get involved in the classic Premier League fantasy game for this weekend only. And the top prize is £50. Unfortunately, I don't have £50 to show you. Hopefully I can win it, and I'll be here next week showing you the winnings. But if I do win any money, I'm going to give it to one of you guys. The good thing with the Spitch Fantasy Paid League is there's 107 entries at the time of recording, and 26 places gets paid out. So if you finish in approximately the top 25%, you make a profit. But if I make any money this week, I'm going to give it to one of you guys. To get involved in the winnings, potential winnings, hopeful winnings, simply leave a comment below this video with your thoughts ahead of the Southampton West Ham game, as well as your score prediction. Do that and you're entered, and if I win the money, one of you get it. But if you want to get involved with Spitch, you can do by downloading the link in the description of this video. Download the app. Signing up is free. There's free to play games on there, but there's also paid games on there as well. Put your money where your mouth is. It is a gambling app, so 18 plus only, and please gamble responsibly. Anyway, that's enough for me. Back to my chat with Glenn.
I think it's reached the stage now where a change is needed. He's over time he's done really well with the resources that have been at his disposal at times, and we've been a team that's had a 10-game run where we've looked like the sort of team that could finish 7th or 8th, followed by a 10-game run where we've looked like relegation material. And the run that we're on now is the longest one where we've been bad. And I'm just thinking now it's gone stale. There's a few rumours of dressing room unrest. You don't really know whether that comes from the agent of a disgruntled player or where that comes from, but there seems to be a lot stacking up at the moment, and it's got to the stage now where I'm not really bothered. If he goes, he goes. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. Whereas a year ago, I would have been wondering what on earth was going on. But now I never particularly want a manager sacked. There's been one or two that we've had over the years. We had a guy, Maurizio Pellegrino, who was just awful. He was a couple before Ralph, but even Mark Hughes, I didn't think was that bad.
You are patient.
I know. But yeah, sometimes I don't think change for the sake of it is worth it. But it's reaching that stage now where I think, well, we've got you, and then we've got Bournemouth next week, and if we end up with 0 or 1 point from those two games, then I do wonder if he'll still be there when the World Cup comes around.
What about, I mean, off the pitch though? You've got obviously you appointed Shields in the summer, let him take charge of the summer transfer window, and
Yeah.
the business looks really good. And now he's off to Stamford Bridge, pretty much. I mean, does that concern you more than the uncertainty over the manager to some extent? Because you've almost sort of said this is the guy that we're going to trust with the long-term vision of the club, and he's not even been there 6 months, and he's
It's,
off.
it's a bit of a blow, but I mean, apparently, depending on what you read, the salary he's been offered at Chelsea is 6 times more than what he's on here. So it's like man leaves job for more money. So what can you do? I'm not terribly impressed with the way it's handled. I don't think there's much that could be levelled at Saints as a club for him going. Chelsea are not. Can I say they're not the most ethical in the way they go about things? So things seem to have been leaked to the media. Everyone seemed to know about it before Saints did. So I think all Saints are guilty of is employing someone with a somewhat questionable sense of professionalism. So when I was a bit confused in the summer when we signed a kid from Manchester City that no one had really heard of, and Fabrizio Romano was all over it, and I was thinking, where on earth does that come from? How has that got into the public domain? Before it happened. So yeah, and we played Chelsea earlier on in the season, and apparently straight after the game, Chelsea offered 50 million for Romeo Lavia, who we've only just signed. And now I'm beginning to think, oh, well, hang on, was the guy actually working in our best interests even back then? It seems a big coincidence to me that he's now off to the USA Revolution at Stamford Bridge. So I'm not terribly impressed by the whole episode. It doesn't bother me unduly. There'll be someone else, they'll get in as a to head up the recruitment. I mean, we had a guy called Martin Glover before this, and he went off to Leicester. So it does seem to be an issue. Maybe we're just not paying these guys enough money, and they just disappear. But it doesn't bother me unduly, no.
Final question on Saints, just a yes or no. Will you get relegated?
I'm not going to give you a yes or no. If we don't sign a striker in January, yes.
Okay, I'll take that as an answer. Yeah. Right, moving on to West Ham. What's your thoughts on the Hammers?
I like West Ham. I like the fact that they've built something now. They've built a team that, if anyone is going to challenge the sort of top 6 monopoly, I got asked this on a Spurs podcast earlier on in the season, and I wasn't just winding them up saying I thought West Ham might make the top 6, but I genuinely thought it. I was winding them up when I said Arsenal would win everything, but I genuinely think West Ham have got a very good team, good squad. You've got a solid manager. He's probably not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm sure there were West Ham fans who were cringing a little bit when he got reappointed, sort of thing. But he's done a decent job. I know you've got the issues with the ownership, and that's never going to go away until they do. And he seems to manage that side of things pretty well. This is from the outside. I don't pay masses of attention to what gets said in press conferences and stuff like that. But I like your team. I like the way he sets it up. It just seems very solid, and you've got good attacking players who can make a difference. And that's the main difference between your team and ours at the moment, is you've got those front 4 players who can all produce a bit of magic, at various times, and we just don't have that. And you've obviously got with Souček and Declan Rice in the centre of midfield. That's the right combination of someone who runs into the box and gets his head on things, and someone who can sit and hold. So I think they're a very good team, very very well set up. I was surprised you started the season badly, but things seem to be clicking into gear now, and the new signings, especially the striker, seem to be Skamaka, is that his name? They seem to be doing well as well. So it's not a game I'm looking forward to. I mean, I hope you've still got this tendency to blow a bit hot and cold, which is what you had last year, when certainly when we played you. And hoping that comes back to bite you again. But you seem to have a good start in 11, and you've got a decent selection of players on the bench as well. I was just looking at your lineup for the last game with sort of Ben Rama, Antonio, Johnson, Lanzini, Ogbonna, all on the bench. That's a strong strong selection of players. So I don't think you're going to be worried about the bottom end of the table like we are this season. Put it that way.
We're certainly looking up rather than down compared to the start of the season. I know you've mentioned a couple of players there, but is there any player in particular at West Ham that you admire?
Well, I first saw Declan Rice play against Saints when he was about 18, I think, 17 or 18. He played at St Mary's, and you could tell straight away this is going to be some player here. I hope he stays with you. I mean, as I'm sure you do, but it's going to be very difficult to hang on to him as time goes on. I think he's exceptional. Haven't seen too much of the new guys. The one that always bothered me in the past was Michael Antonio. He was on loan with us years ago when he was about 20, and he's turned into a player that he never looked like he was going to turn into at that age. And he's always, until last year, he absolutely bullied us every game, and we just looked terrified of him. He had that combination of the power and the pace that we just couldn't deal with, and I'll be quite pleased if he's on the bench, and it'll be one of those. If by some miracle we're actually winning and I see him ready to come on, I'll be thinking, oh, here we go. So he's one I've always liked.
He's ill. I don't think he's going to make the squad. Yeah, he's been ill this week. He missed the game on Thursday night, and it looks like he's possibly going to miss the game on Sundays. He might get a little bit of luck there, but when you say I'll be pleased not to see him, you might change your mind when you see Scamacca, actually, because he's really I've been very impressed by him since he's arrived, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on Sunday. I never mind just seeing West Ham on Sunday. I'm looking forward to seeing Scamacca on Sunday as well. Where can you see us finishing then? Obviously, there's two questions really. A, can we win that Europa Conference League? And B, where do you think you can see us finishing this season?
I'll be totally honest. I don't know who else is in the Conference League. I know you get Europa League teams dropping into it, so it'll be interesting to see who drops in.
Roma look like the biggest team that are potentially going to drop in. Jose Mourinho's team. Well, Villarreal's in the competition as well.
Yeah, Roma won it. They won it last year, didn't they? That particular
Roma
competition.
Did,
yeah. So I don't see why. I mean, if you steer relatively clear of injuries, I don't see at all why West Ham can't win that, or at least get to the final of it. With regards to the Premier League, you'd like to think West Ham will be competing with Manchester United for that sort of 6th place-ish area. That would I assume be a very good season if you could sneak into that top 6. But I mean, you'd take that. I mean, but I guess you're in that sort of glass ceiling position now where you've finished relatively high the last sort of 2 or 3 years, and now where can you really go?
Just going back to that Conference League competition for a second, as a Saints fan, would you like to be in that competition, or do you see it as a bit of a Mickey Mouse competition per se? Because I'm always interested to see how neutrals see it, because obviously some West Ham fans had a certain perspective of it, which may have changed now we're in it. Some West Ham fans still don't like it, even though we're in it. As a Southampton fan, you've also had a taste of European football, but not this new competition. Would you like to be in it, or is it one that you think would perhaps bring more problems and it's not worth this per se, but it's not as prestigious as the Europa League, so on and so forth?
I don't think the prestige matters. You saw the reaction of Mourinho when they won it last year. He still seemed fairly into it, and this is a manager that's won every other competition in the game. So I don't think the prestige of it really comes into it. You wouldn't be keen on it if you were progressing in that and losing all your Premier League games because your players were getting injured or they were knackered or whatever. So I think if you've got a decent enough squad, which West Ham have got, I don't really think it's a problem. And if you do happen to win it, it'll be a huge thing, and it'll be something that certainly the newer generation of fans who don't remember your last trophy win are going to hang on to, and it's going to be a great thing. So I tell you what, the one thing that does mystify me about the whole competition is how it actually came into being, because it was during COVID when European travel was supposed to be a bad thing, and suddenly we had this third European competition turn up. So I did think that was a bit strange at the time, and but now it's here. It's probably here to stay. I mean, I don't know, you're probably old enough to remember when there were 3 European competitions anyway, with the used to have the Cup Winners' Cup and the UEFA Cup. So yeah, these things all seem to come round again. And yeah, fair play. I think if you do well, it's a brilliant thing. And as long as it's not taking too much out of you in terms of performances in the league, happy days.
Right, all eyes to St Mary's on Sunday then. How do you see this game going?
It's going to be a battle between your attack and our defence. Our defence is decent. We're decent in that, but we never keep a clean sheet. So we've gone down from conceding 2 goals a game to maybe 1. So I think it's going to be quite tight at that end of the pitch.
That's like saying I normally lose 20 quid a week, but I only lose a tenner now. So it's
it's
not as bad as it used to be.
It's a bit like that. I mean, are we going to come up with a new way of attacking during the week? I'd say it's unlikely, and I'm not really expecting us to be putting you under loads and loads of pressure. There'll be a physical battle with Che Adams and your centre halves. But who are your centre halves? It's Dawson and Zouma.
We're not sure. We've actually got some doubts at centre back. Actually, all 4 centre backs. We've got 4 senior centre back. Well, 5, including Aguero, who signed in summer, is out until the World Cup time. We've not seen him yet in competitive football, so he's out. Ogbonna went off injured on Thursday with a knee injury, so he's out probably. Dawson replaced Ogbonna, then went off injured himself with an impact injury. But there's some talk that he may make it, but even if he does, he won't be 100%. Tito Kerr missed the game on Thursday with a little knock, according to Moyes. So he should make it. He's been pictured in training today, but again, is he 100%? We're not really sure. And then Kurt Zouma missed training today, apparently, so he's not 100% either. So actually, regardless of who we play centre back, they're not 100%. So we might have 2 sort of patched up centre backs playing on Sunday.
That may be an opening. The last sort of few games we've been playing sort of pretty direct up to Che Adams. He's been trying his best to sort of batter defenders around, and he's pretty decent at that. He's quite physical, so that could be an opening for us. But I mean, this is how desperate we're getting. We're talking about maybe giving Theo Walcott a game. That's how bad things are going at the moment, that the strikers aren't doing it, so let's call up Theo Walcott. My God, that's kind of where we are at the moment.
I didn't even think he was still at your club.
Yeah, I think he sweeps up. Usually he's the 9th. He's the 9th substitute on the bench. Got less chance of getting on than the reserve goalkeeper.
I honestly thought he went. I honestly thought he left in the summer.
No, they wanted to get him out the door because he's on decent money. But no, we've got him to the end of the season. We got duped and gave him a contract that was 2 years too long. But every club does it, don't they? You just sign players that just think, oh man, why have we done that? So we got rid of Shane Long, but we've still got Theo Walcott. So we are really struggling at the top end of the pitch. So if you're asking me for a score prediction, if I was being honest, I'd go 1-0 to West Ham.
Stuart Armstrong's always got a banger in him, though. He's always got 2 screamers a season in him. Does Armstrong?
This year he's kind of dropped off a bit. And he's struggling.
Been poor when I've seen him.
He's struggling with fitness as well. So he's been in and out of the team.
Yeah, he's been poor for Scotland as well. Che Adams, though, is someone I've really warmed to in the last couple of years because of what he does with Scotland. I will confess, I've got a little bit of a soft spot for Che Adams, what he does when he pulls on that Scotland strip. But yes. Anyway, so you're going 1-0 West Ham then?
I'll go 1-0 West Ham, yeah.
Well, that's happy days for me. I'll take that any day. That's what I said in the preview as well. So we're matching. We're both saying 1-0 West Ham. But anyway, Glen, thank you very much for joining me on this one. I massively appreciate it. If you want to hear more from Glen, head over to the Total States podcast. I'll put the link to the podcast in the description of this video. If you're at home and have enjoyed it, you must have done. You made it to the end of the video, then please do drop a like on it by clicking the thumbs up button. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. Helps the channel out, and also subscribe while you're here. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow with our live build-up show, and we'll catch you then. Glen, thank you.
No worries. Thank you.